Tron is a franchise that I've absolutely adored ever since I saw Legacy when I was 7. Seeing that film at that young of an age probably changed my brain chemistry somehow. Like, seeing all of this made me reevaluate everything I had experienced thus far in my life, knowing nothing was going to ever look this cool. So when word had spread of a new film being made, I couldn't be more excited. I mean, how many chances does a niche franchise get before it's officially dead and buried? Especially one where the films have been nothing but box office disappointments, and the last one released 15 years ago. So when that teaser trailer was put out, I was hyped as hell for this movie. The visuals were looking clean, the soundtrack was aggressive, and oh no. So, 15 years later and one monkey paw later, the wait for another film is finally over, and Tron Ares is that film. But not necessarily the film people were hoping for. Because beyond it being the third Tron film, this one is more of an unconnected continuation rather than a direct sequel to Legacy. It was somehow both underwhelming and better than I expected at the same time, which really left me baffled once the credits started to roll. While I can say that this isn't a terrible movie, I also can't say that it's really good, which by Tron standards isn't really saying anything new. The films have always been carried by their visuals and soundtracks. In keeping up with tradition, the visuals and music here are pretty damn great. While overall the visuals and score in the previous film are near perfect in my eyes, Ares still kills it in both departments, with visuals that look just as good as Legacy did all those years ago, with action scenes that were pretty damn awesome, and a soundtrack by Nine Inch Nails that fits extremely well with the Tron aesthetic and does a hell of a lot of heavy lifting for the film, for better or for worse. And a lot of interesting concepts were presented here, especially with the rise of AI and with the ending of Legacy having programs attempting to invade the real world, and this film taking the concept and basically making it its plot. It's really cool stuff. And truthfully, this is definitely an IMAX experience. That is how you're going to get the fullest out of this film, because there are so many moments where the visuals and music are so synced with each other that you'll feel as though you're in the movie and on the grid. It's just when the characters open their mouths and the plot has to happen when you're taken right out of the experience. Like with the previous films, the writing isn't very good. Or at least it's fine, but nothing really memorable. Every one of the characters is serviceable at best, with no one really leaving that much of an impact by the end of the film. No character was necessarily bad, but none of them had any personality beyond what the plot required of them. With the story revolving around two companies looking for a MacGuffin called the Permanence Code, which will allow things from the grid to survive longer than 29 minutes outside of it. With Ares growing a conscience and wanting to be a real boy and help the good CEO lady get the code to use for good things, while betraying Quicksilver, who wants to use it for regular real-world company things, i.e. the military-industrial complex. The plot is nothing to write home about, and is extremely simple, which I actually kind of liked. It made it easier to follow along without getting completely lost with all the grid shenanigans going on, especially since elements of both the first two films and entirely new ones play factors into this film. I don't expect a ton of general audience members to have seen the original 1982 classic. But even if I can forgive an overall simple plot, the characters are so one-note that it made the ones in Legacy look like they were written by Scorsese, because compared to that film, there was at least an emotional center with the father and son angle it was going for. Whereas here, there was something with Greta Lee's motivation being to finish the work of her dead sister, who she was close with, or other ones like Ares gaining a conscience and wanting to be good. But it all feels just kinda half-assed, with there not really being a true moment for Ares being good again and being cemented throughout the journey that he's been going on, which has been unclear, and we never really learn of the true relationship between Greta Lee's character and her dead sister. You're kinda just supposed to buy that they were close. And since the film is paced so incredibly fast, there's no time to develop interesting plot points like that. It's always trying to rush you from one set piece to another, and while I think that's fine, as this is a Tron movie we're talking about, the reason it was more acceptable in Legacy is the fact that there was at least more interesting stuff to look at on the grid, unlike here where it's mostly just boring city locations. And again, there was at least an emotional core with Sam and his dad. Honestly, the biggest weakness of this film is, funny enough, baked into the very concept it's working with. The fact that programs are making their way into the real world. Because since the majority of this film takes place in the real world, there aren't nearly as many interesting set pieces or mind-blowing visuals as there should be. Like, of course, when we're actually in the grid or there's cool action going on, it looks great. But there just wasn't enough of it, for me at least, to scratch the same itch as Legacy did. Like, I don't really care for Ares driving a sports car around as much as I would have significantly rather him be in some cool-ass light cycle vehicle or whatever. But even with all the stuff I've criticized and pointed out, I still had a decent time with the movie. The action was solid, especially with the sick visuals that were elevated with the absolutely killer Nine Inch Nails soundtrack. The acting wasn't bad. I think everyone did okay, including Leto, but no one truly stood out. Maybe except for Evan Peters, who was able to bring some life, hamming it up a bit as the villain. But the script is aggressively mediocre, not helped by the fact that it constantly hints to elements from Legacy for a potential Tron 4, which really should have been this one. And if there was one thing I could say that would sum up my overall thoughts on the movie, this truly did feel like a film directed by the same guy who did Pirates of the Caribbean 5. As much as I would love for this movie to succeed and finally cement Tron as a consistent ongoing franchise, I don't see that happening. With the current box office numbers looking pretty grim, I don't have a ton of faith that we will be seeing Tron 4 anytime soon. Which hurts even more with the amount of sequel baiting they do in this movie, post-credit scene and all. With the way things are looking, this will most likely end up a box office disappointment just like the two movies before it were. The franchise will go back into hibernation, this one will grow a cult following over time, and we'll see it again in another 15 to 20 years. Tron has never been mainstream as much as Disney, and myself, would like it to be. I've come to terms with that, and while it's disappointing, depressing, and a bunch of other sad adjectives, it is what it is. Maybe Disney will finally decide on hiring good writers for the next one, and I won't have to continue going through an abusive cycle with this franchise, mourning its death every decade.
No! No! No!
But until then, take care, and I'll see you all in the next video.